as the mysterious disappearance of a commercial aeroplane over the Atlantic, a tragedy that left more questions than answers. But the true story, shrouded in fear and disbelief, is far darker than anyone could imagine. It was a crisp winter evening when the aeroplane prepared for takeoff. The flight was a routine journey, carrying 216 passengers and 9 crew members from Heathrow Airport in London to New York City. Families, business executives, and solo travelers settled into their seats, unaware that this would be a flight into the unknown. The atmosphere felt tense, though no one could pinpoint why. In seat 14A, a middle-aged man with greying hair clutched a worn leather journal, his eyes darting nervously. A child near the back of the cabin whispered to her mother, "The clouds look strange."
The windows, the fog seemed alive, writhing like it had a mind of its own. The lights flickered once more, then extinguished, plunging the cabin into complete darkness. When the lights returned, the aeroplane was no longer surrounded by a storm. Instead, it floated in an endless void. No sky, no stars, no ground below. Just infinite blackness. Passengers gasped in terror. The man in 14A stood and raised his voice above the din. "Listen to me. This isn't a natural phenomenon. We've crossed into another dimension. We're not supposed to be here." Most dismissed him as mad, but a few stared at him, their faces pale with fear. Suddenly, the aeroplane shuddered violently, as if an enormous hand had seized it. Passengers screamed as enormous humanoid silhouettes appeared outside the windows. Their glowing eyes seemed to peer directly into the souls of those on board. The figures moved unnaturally, their long limbs extending toward the aeroplane. One by one, people began to vanish. A mother holding her child looked down in horror to find her arms empty. A man in a business suit froze mid-scream and disappeared. The man with the journal turned to the remaining passengers. "There's only one way to survive," he said. "It requires a sacrifice." Fear gripped the cabin. "What do you mean, a sacrifice?" someone demanded. Before he could answer, the largest shadow figure appeared directly in front of the aeroplane. Its glowing eyes burned like twin suns, and an otherworldly voice boomed through the cabin. "Choose!" Without waiting for approval, he walked toward the cockpit. The largest shadow extended a claw-like hand, enveloping him. As he disappeared, the void began to collapse. Sunlight streamed into the cabin as the aeroplane reappeared over calm waters. The storm had vanished. Passengers blinked in confusion, but something was wrong. Nearly half the seats were empty, and the crew looked as though they'd aged decades in mere minutes. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "This is your captain speaking. We're landing in New York. Prepare for descent." When the aeroplane touched down, investigators swarmed it. No explanation was ever found for the missing passengers or the strange journals left behind, each filled with cryptic symbols and warnings. The aeroplane was permanently grounded. Survivors spoke of shadowy figures, black fog, and a mysterious sacrifice, but their accounts were dismissed as hysteria. The official report blamed turbulence and equipment failure, but those who survived knew the truth. They had crossed into a place that defied understanding, and though they returned, a piece of them remained trapped in that endless void. To this day, pilots flying over the Atlantic report hearing faint whispers in the static, repeating the same chilling word, "Choose."